Ju, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear from you.
Now you can hear me. Okay.
Hi, Tom, you're in the dark.
Yes, it's nighttime here.
Hi, good Tom and good Beth. How are you?
She
Hi,
said, "How are you?"
Tom.
They asked, "How are you?"
Bev.
I'm fine. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing them. I'm not hearing anyone.
It's cold here.
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
สวัสดีค่ะฮัง
สวัสดีค่ะพี่จิ๋วค่ะ
คุณ Tom and Bev, it's surprised that we haven't got PM 2.5 yet. Can you believe it?
It's good.
Yeah, it's really nice, but it's very hot now. It's just a day. It's hit in the afternoon. It hit 39.
Wow. It's hard
But
to believe. We
but at
just left.
least, yeah,
Mhm.
but at least it's the weather is the air is clean.
Well, you've
Just
had
for
some
those,
rain, right?
Yep, a few rains, but not much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
for Tom and Ju, those who weren't here on Saturday, I just introduced our friend Sylvia, who is from Sydney, who has joined us for some discussions before and joined the first Zoom discussion on Saturday and is back for another one today, which is always very good news. And Sylvia, she's got her husband's name there, but Ju, who is talking about the hot weather, is in Thailand, and Tom and Bev are in Canada. So
No,
US.
we're in the United
US, sorry,
States.
US, so
Right.
my mistake, yes. I always make that mistake with them, yes. And I think you met Hung and Anne and Kunsupatson and Sally on Saturday, and Zhao, I think he was here on Saturday. So
They Tom and wish they were in Canada.
they wish they were in Canada. Okay, I'm reading their minds. Yes,
Our northern state, yes.
They spend part of the year in Chiang Mai in Thailand, and then go back for the summer in the US. And
Hi, Sylvia. Nice to see you again.
Hi, John. Nice to see you.
Yeah, keeping well.
Yes,
Good.
thank you. Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
so Sylvia will definitely recognize our backdrops from Manly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if Ajahn is here. Ajahn, are you here?
Yes, สวัสดีค่ะ everyone.
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
สวัสดีครับท่านอาจารย์สวัสดีครับ
You'll see that Sylvia is here again after Saturday, and she's not so familiar with the Pali terms. So when people use Pali terms for her benefit and Chili's benefit and anyone else who's very new, please translate the terms. And okay. How did you find the discussion on Saturday, Sylvia?
Yes, I found it very good. It was extremely helpful. And I think I mentioned on Saturday from doing the reading I've been doing, I had started to pick up perhaps some incorrect perceptions. And so I was kind of helped out there quite a lot. So I found it very helpful. Thank you.
Good. And I don't know if anyone has anything any questions they'd like to bring up. I don't know if you or Chili or anyone else has any questions they'd like to bring up. That would be helpful for everyone. And do you have anything you'd like to bring up today?
Yes, I I always find the discussions about, well, self so often. We spend our day thinking of ourselves, and that we don't spend the some day thinking that it exists, but we certainly spend our days in ignorance of no self. In fact, there is no self. But I think it's been mentioned before that there are times when, throughout the day, when I don't know, one may be aware that there, well, one may think there has been some metta, and that there may well have been, but we don't know directly. And then immediately, I guess I can only speak for myself, find myself thinking, okay, that's me that knows. So there is at some level, then some sense of knowing that, I guess that really there is no self, and yet it's hard to tell. I think the obvious answer is more and more understanding, but which can only come through the direct understanding, and the pariyatti understanding as well. But I always find it helpful to hear Ajahn speak of no self and the understanding of it.
Good topic. Ajahn, would you like to talk more about the topic Anne has mentioned?
Yeah, I think that does anyone realize that now we are talking about what is there so close every moment? It's not far away, but no understanding of the truth of it because it's so close. That's why we learn to understand the truth, because when we say what appears does not appear as it is, what does it mean? See, each word should be studied to have understanding, very firm and very firm confidence of the truth. Satya Barami, not try to do anything, just develop the understanding of the truth, to understand it, that's all. And that's the only way to let go ignorance, attachment, and whatever appearing hasn't been known before, to realize the truth that is so very subtle, so very deep. For example, they are seeing all day. Does anyone have any moment thinking about it? That how come seeing? And seeing cannot think, it cannot lie. It's just a moment, in a split second, see. Only that. Just begin to understand the truth, that's all. And the understanding works its way to understand the truth now, as we have heard, closer and closer. And the point of studying is to understand what is there in life every moment, which hasn't been known before at all. That's it. It doesn't mean that we have to try so hard to let go this and that, but the understanding begins to let go ignorance and no understanding of the truth of what is there right now. That's the point. How much understanding of the truth of what is there as it is. Before hearing anything about the truth of what is there now, no one can understand the truth of anything in life at all. That's why it's moment of talking about the truth. Consider it, whether it's true or not. When it's true, no one can change the way it is. Each moment is there. Temporarily, seeing arises and falls away, never arise again. It's the same moment of death. It arises and falls away, never arise again. Each moment is that. Begin to understand life, to understand a little more. What is it? It's the reality which now arises and experiences the object. See, what are they? Seeing, sees, experience that which is now appearing, whisper object. Hearing, hears, what? Sound, and so on. Even touching now, it's there, experiences hardness, but no thought, no understanding of the truth of each moment. This is the learn to understand what is there, not the word, but the truth, little by little. That's why we can talk about anything in life which is real, like attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Ignorance is moment of no understanding of the truth of what is there. Unknown, that is real, it's no one, but it arises but cannot understand the truth. Like now, there is seeing. Who knows? Ignorance of seeing is there already. If you don't talk about it, what does it mean by ignorance? Is it real? Is it someone? Or it cannot understand the truth? And what is the truth? Begin to listen to the truth, to understand more and more, to have confidence of the word Dhamma. Whatever is real is real. In Pali, another term, other language is Dhamma. So now we're talking about what is real, to begin to understand what can be known in truth. And we can talk about anything. For example, seeing is a reality because now it sees. And what does it mean? It sees. It no word that fit the truth, but we can understand by some word like it experiences what is there, which is known, but not as it is. Because seeing sees what? It sees only that which impinges on the eye base. Learn to understand the very tiny moment, so very short moment. It's there now, from moment to moment, so very quickly, rapidly, that it seems like it's always something seen, heard, the story, and so on. But in truth, in split-second moments, see what is there. Seeing is only one moment. Who can imagine in life? Seeing is one moment, but it seems like many moments in a day. No time without seeing at all. Before we go to sleep. See, that's right. Learn to understand life from moment to moment. To understand what is it, what is life, what is death, and before death, what is there? Each day, each month, each year. See, even right now, seeing now, it says no one can make it arise. No one can stop it to arise at all. It has a reason already. Just learn to understand what is there naturally. Begin to understand that actually understanding is not I or anyone. No matter what is there, it has its own characteristic. Deeper and deeper to understand the truth, which is now arising and falling away all the time. Unknown, unexpectedly. It's there already and gone, see? Little by little until it's the habits to understand what is there at moment of touching, see? Not my body, not my finger. It is hard. It is hardness because it's that touched. What appear cannot be smelled or taste, but hardness, which if there is no understanding of one moment of experiencing hardness, nobody can understand that hardness is only when it's touched, appears as moment of hardness when there is a moment of touching it. The whole body, my body, in truth, it's only hardness. Is that right? Prove it right now. Begin to understand each word that is the word of truth that can be understood little by little until it's so firm about its nature and its truth. That's all. But without the word of truth, how can there be the tool or the instrument to understand the truth? It's the word and the truth of the word that it just represents a reality like hardness. See? There is hardness at each moment touching. Right now, no thought about it, no understand the truth of it. So it's taken for something, the whole body, my body, the whole hardness from head to toe. It's me or mine. But in truth, it's just a reality. It's conditioned already to be there at moment of touching and then gone. The world of nothing permanent at all. Nothing as something, just a reality, conditioned to arise and fall away, on and on and on and on, endlessly. Different kinds of realities, attachment, aversion, clinging, or feeling, or memory, remembering, and so on. Is that true? Just begin to understand the truth of no one, no thing, only different realities. If they do not arise, there will never be anything appearing, especially that which arises and experiencing what is there right now in all in one's life. It's there, experiencing one reality at a time. And as soon as it has arisen, as soon as it performs its function, it's gone. Never to return, never to be found in samsara, only once. So it's no one. It's not I live now, tomorrow, next year, and so on. But it's the moment of realities conditioned to arise and fall away differently by different conditions. Is that true? Until the end. And how come to be the end? Why not now? By conditions. Just learn to understand what is there as it is, little by little. That is the understanding of life, of the world, of everything, of the truth.
Thanks for the question, Anne. And I think it covers, and thank you, Ajahn, for those helpful comments too. And I think your question covers two aspects or areas. One is the teaching on no self, or wrong view of self, should I say, but sometimes abbreviated as no self. There is no self. And the other aspect is not self as a characteristic of every conditioned reality.
Yes.
And I don't know if you had one or other of these particularly in mind when asking your question, but I find it helpful to keep in mind that there is a distinction to be made between the two. They're not synonyms. So the first one is a mental factor that arises with akusala citta, is an unwholesome mental factor where there is the idea of for example, a separate entity that is a self, separate and apart from the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. There's some...
As in I see, I think.
Sorry?
as in am I on?
Yes, yes, I'm hearing you.
As in,
Thank you.
I see, I think.
Well, depends what one means by that. If it means there is an I who is seeing and
Yes.
an I who is thinking over and above the
Yeah.
seeing and thinking itself, yes, then that would
Yeah.
presumably constitute a wrong view. And that idea may or may not arise frequently in a day. It would vary from one individual to the next. But
And I think,
it's certainly,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go on.
Well, I was going to say, I think when we say, there is an I who is seeing, or whatever, in addition to seeing, I think that it often arises without any thought for there is a seeing consciousness. It's just me, I see. And I realize that's not correct at all, but that's how it happens. So, most of the time, I think there's an I in place of the various sense consciousnesses and thinking that does it all. And I think that's how we go through the day.
Well, again, we have to be careful because there can be conceit of I am doing this, I'm achieving that, I'm not being treated like I should, sort of thing.
Yes.
Those are aspects of conceit. And then there's just attachment also. There can be thinking of myself with attachment, joy at whatever is being done, so having a good time. So wrong view has its particular characteristic, and only that understanding can identify wrong view as opposed to any other kind of a kusala. And then the not self as a characteristic of conditioned realities is an aspect of the understanding of individual conditioned realities that becomes apparent. And it means that the conditioned reality is not under our control or anyone's control. It happens by conditions.
Yes.
As the name suggests, cannot be subject to mastery, to quote from the commentaries. Now, these two, one is an akusala mental tendency, and the other is an aspect of the understanding of conditioned dhammas.
I see. Yeah.
Right. So one is gradually being eradicated, hopefully, and the other is being developed.
The eradicated one would be the first we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yes,
but these two things don't necessarily go hand in hand. So there can be, for example, an understanding of the conditioned nature of realities, but still there can be an idea of a self. So they're quite separate things. And another example of what I mean by they're not connected directly is that the wrong view of self gets eradicated at stream entry by the Sotapanna. And this happens by virtue of the development of the understanding of conditioned realities, just the nature of the way things happen. But that is not full enlightenment. As we know, there are up to 7 more lives to be lived before final enlightenment is attained. And that means that understanding is being further developed during those subsequent lifetimes. And as I understand it, that understanding that's being further developed will be the understanding of conditioned realities as anicca, dukkha, anatta.
Mhm.
So I think it's correct to say, but the Sotapanna, the stream enterer, doesn't yet have full understanding of the anatta characteristic of conditioned dhammas.
Yeah.
So that helps us to appreciate
Yeah.
that there are two different things that are being discussed, and it's helpful to keep in mind that distinction. Thanks.
Thank you. That's helpful. I think I'm sure it's helpful, but it's helping me think more about it.
And I think you made a good
Sure.
you made a good point at the beginning, and that there's ignorance all day. And the main point is it's not my ignorance or anyone's ignorance. It's just unwholesome cheetahs with ignorance arising.
Mhm.
And they're so subtle. After seeing and hearing, long before there's any thinking in words, ignorance is arising, and often wrong view of self is arising long before we think in words. So it's so common. And as you said, moment of metta, kindness, friendliness to others. And so quickly it's me, my metta, my kindness, and the other person. So the only way is the development of understanding, but it's all by conditions, not by I doing anything, not by one's wishing or trying, because it's all anatta or not
Mhm.
self. And however much wrong view there is, it doesn't belong to me. Just dharmas arising and falling away, or conditioned, useless to fret about or mind about, because that is just more akusala accumulating. It's
Mhm.
just the way
Yes.
it is. And I
Yeah.
just want to briefly welcome Tiffany, because I think it's your first time joining the Zoom discussion, Tiffany. Are you from Cambodia, Tiffany?
Hi Sarah, hi everyone. Yes, I'm in Australia. I'm in Melbourne, but
Okay.
originally my background's Cambodian as well.
Okay, I thought so too. Okay, glad to meet you. There are a few of us in different parts of Australia here. Okay, I hope can you follow the discussions all right so far?
Yes. I just love to listen in. Thank you. I have no opinion yet.
Was it Sally who introduced you to the group, or one of the other students?
It was Nina.
Nina.
Oh, Nina. Oh, good for Nina. Yes, I can't. Oh, yes, Nina is here. Anumodana to you, Nina, introducing your friends to the group. Okay, please carry on listening. And if there's anything you want to ask about or anything that's not clear, just put a hand up or let us know. Anyway, very welcome, Tiffany. So, Anne, any other comments on what Ajahn said or anything further?
Yes, at one point it became much more apparent that we all think we know what seeing is, we know what hearing is. We really don't. Because the seeing consciousness, we know some of the conditions for it to arise, and we know that it sees, but that we don't know whether it sees in the way we think, and what we think seeing is. What we think of when we think conventionally about what seeing is, and it just became clearer how hidden it is by ignorance. I mean, I can tell you that seeing sees, seeing consciousness sees, but until there's a lot of understanding at a higher level, you don't really deeply understand seeing consciousness, which means you don't deeply understand in the way of Dhamma what we just talk about as being seeing all the time.
But what we take for seeing consciousness is in fact thinking about what has been seen by seeing consciousness. So the conventional idea of seeing is just thinking
Yes.
of the visible objects that have been experienced by
Right.
seeing consciousness. So rather than think of it as, okay, it's not yet seeing, but it is thinking, and
It
that's
is
a
but
conditioned reality that also has to be known in due course.
in due course. And I think that's part of my point, because it is thinking now, for sure.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
What I think I was going in a little more depth there to say, we don't really understand seeing consciousness.
That's very true. But what I was sort of pointing to was that maybe we're trying to see something that doesn't yet appear.
Well, that's yes. Exactly.
So it's not a problem that it doesn't yet appear, because only one reality can appear to awareness and understanding at a time, and it doesn't matter which reality it is.
Yes. I was just.
But
go ahead, please.
Well, I was going to say, I find it very helpful, all this discussion about seeing an invisible object, hearing and sound, precisely because they don't appear.
Right.
So it's very helpful to build up an appreciation of what a theoretical understanding of what they are, even though there doesn't mean they're going to become the object of awareness and understanding anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree completely. I think it was sort of, for me, a recognition, maybe a deeper recognition of the extent to which it's covered up, and it's easy to use our, well, I wouldn't say trying, but what we know is our conventional thinking of what seeing might be. I see you, which is definitely with thinking. That's moments, and many moments after seeing has disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And
what uncovers the seeing is the understanding, awareness and understanding that develops from the experiencing of other realities.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you. It's interesting. It's so intricate, isn't it?
Very intricate and subtle, yes. It's so easy to find oneself trying or guiding or somehow wishing that a different reality is appearing than the one that currently is
Somebody would just pop up and tell you everything. Yeah, no, it's useful. I find it useful to have these discussions. It's the layers of ignorance that need to be let go of through understanding, and yet it's it's not a trap, but the hook on this is that it's so easy, as we said, to be wishing, wanting, trying, without any awareness of that yet. I'm thinking that it probably becomes more and more aware as understanding grows, or it becomes more and more evident. There can be more awareness of that as understanding grows, the trying, the wishing, trying to think it through. There's a little bit of thinking it through right now. Thanks, Jonathan.
And so I was just think, a little bit to add to that, and is that you mentioned the word trap there. I don't, and certainly that there can be traps along the path. There's no question about that. And this is why we need always to consider very carefully, by conditions, of course, because it's not a matter of just thinking in a certain way that allow us to follow the path easily. It's and what Tanajan alluded to just a moment ago about allowing the habit to develop, and I appreciated that, because that avoids the trap, and we begin to appreciate that it's the more sophisticated or intricate understanding, to use your words just a moment ago, that allows us or allows the development of the path. It's a very gradual path, and as has been alluded to many times, patience is key to that. And of course, as you've just alluded to earlier on too, it's just that continual consideration or listening, which of course will mean ideally that there is careful attention, and we can gradually develop a better and clearer understanding over time. But yeah, it's and that of course facilitates a greater confidence in what's being attended to, or what we are attending to, and little by little there can be better and better understanding. And I'm thinking of Sylvia here too. You mentioned, I believe it was yesterday, what day are we today? Monday, it might have been Saturday. How valuable it is to have friends to help us consider the Dhamma in ways perhaps that we haven't done before, which is so helpful. Getting that, and I must say I have a degree of admiration for that, Sylvia, because I don't think that comes easily, or just like you can do it if you want to. I think I appreciate your honesty and your humbleness in a way, if I can use that word, because to be able to consider what somebody says with sincerity, with commitment to truth, I don't believe is an easy thing to do. So I'm really admiring of you to do that, to step outside what might seem to be your comfort zone, because I've noticed over the years that people come and go, and some people who are very learned come and go. But I think a lot of it comes down to a certain type of humility, if you like, to appreciate that there's something perhaps here that I'm not so clear of, that I need to understand better. And I think this is what this forum's all about. So, all power to you on that respect. Thank you.
Think on your point, and about the seeing is there. We know in theory about what it is and what it experiences and so on, but Jan's first point to you was about how what is there is so very, very close, but it's far away because it's not understood now. It's not understood as it is, even though it's here and now, and it's this moment. But there has to be the beginning of the careful considering, the reflecting, that it is just the seeing which sees, no one there, nothing there. And that's the point, just beginning to be familiar, beginning to understand that these are just different dharmas, those dharmas that experience an object and those dharmas that don't experience anything. And it's daily life, here and now, not my accumulated ignorance or my anything, and not the other's great wisdom or the other's ignorance either. Just here and now.
And I'd just like to add one further point on the no self or wrong view of self issue. Like any other unwholesome mental factor, its eradication comes about by the development of understanding of conditioned dhammas.
Right.
And that happens as a matter of course. So the point is, it doesn't get eradicated by trying to suppress the idea of self if it does arise, just like anger can't get eradicated by trying to switch off the anger when it occurs, and or attachment doesn't get eradicated by trying to be less attached to something. They will all, because that's an idea of self operating. All of these unwholesome mental factors become the victim of developed panya in due course. So that's the only long-term cure for the defilement. And I find it helpful to keep that in mind, because there's so much, there's a tendency, if we're thinking of that's me who's seeing, to pull ourselves short and say, no, that shouldn't be thinking like that or something.
No.
Just let it go, and remember the importance. The task of the development of the path is not that. Thanks.
Yeah, so true, Jonathan. Thank you.
Jonathan, can I ask a question about thinking?
Sure, Sylvia, please go ahead.
I don't really know how thinking fits into realities, and in fact everything. So
Right.
I think what I'm thinking is that
Yes.
it's not me thinking.
Yes.
But what is thinking? What is thinking?
Yeah.
And how does thinking arises after a chitta, does it? Or
Well, it is, to give a short answer, it is citta that thinks.
chitta thinks.
So citta has different functions. The citta that is eye consciousness has the function of experiencing visible object. And the citta that is ear consciousness or hearing has the function of experiencing sound. But that citta doesn't know anything about the visible object or the sound that has been experienced at that point. So at the point of the sound impinging on the ear sense, for example, and being experienced by ear consciousness, there's no idea of whether it's the sound of a person speaking or the sound of a machine or whatever. It's the mental processing, if you like, of those sense door experiences that identifies a voice and words and meaning. And all that is happening by mind door jitters, which arise in a process. So we call this thinking, but that's not a technical term found in the suttas, I don't think. It's just a convenient catch-all for these various mental processes that occur naturally after every sense door experiencing. And that is how the world comes to be perceived, a world of people and things. And it's the thinking about the sense door experiences that gives the concept of people and things. So that's one sense in which we use the term thinking. The other sense is the conventional sense of planning what I'm going to do tomorrow or remembering what I did yesterday. That's also thinking, isn't it? And that is also mind door jitters, jitters of the mind door processes that have a concept as their object. So these moments of thinking can be wholesome or unwholesome. They can be with or without wrong view. That's just a general comment. So we're talking about a perception of the world that is colored by our wrong understanding of things. And we have the idea that we can influence, for example, what's going to arise next in terms of what is experienced or what is going to be thought about. But that is not the case because they're all conditioned realities.
Thank you, John.
Right.
John, would you like to add more on Anne's or Sylvia's or any of the topics?
Yes. Is there thinking now?
Yes, there is.
Is it real?
The thinking is real.
Does it see?
I'm sorry, John, excuse me.
Does thinking see?
No, it doesn't.
Does it hear?
No, it doesn't.
Does it smell?
No, not that I know of. No, it doesn't.
Does it taste?
No.
Does it touch?
No.
So what does it do?
Thinks.
Think. So thinking is real. It's a reality. It's just like that which sees. But it does not see, but it thinks about that which it sees. So hearing arises to hear the sound, but thinking cannot hear the sound, but it can think of the sound. So thinking can think of everything. So it's a reality, the reality which arises and experiences the object. So it has to be the object of thinking, which can be anything. But there are many levels of thinking too.
Yes.
According to what arises with it. Then there's no understanding of the truth. That which arises to think about people and things as so very permanent, right?
Yeah.
That's why we learn to understand each different reality as it is very, very precisely. Can thinking remember?
No.
See, because it must be careful considering. And the point is to let go wrong view, wrong understanding, taking that as something permanent. But in truth, the only way to realize the ultimate truth is to begin to understand the nature of each one, as it cannot be the same reality at all by different conditions, just arise to false way unknowingly so very rapidly. And this is the only way to let go attachment to self because of ignorance, no understanding of the truth at all. So it's the only way to lead to understanding the truth of what is that each moment, stage by stage, that is so real. That's why it has to be the understanding firmer and firmer about the truth. It depends on whether it's known or not, but the truth cannot be changed at all. That's why we learn to understand that we live with ignorance in our life, or with a moment of beginning to understand the truth. That's why we listen to the truth, to understand the truth, to know that there is not just seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. There are more in a day that should be known too, that there are different dhammas, no one there at all, to have firm confidence of the truth. Because now there is such a being true to the truth, so very little, but it's not as before, none at all, to know what is what in life, each moment. Without hearing, considering, there cannot be the moment of understanding. The truth is the truth, very firm. And the truth can be realized because it's so true. But why it cannot be realized now? Because we learn not enough about the other realities which support understanding, to develop on and on and on, to begin to realize what is there, not just the word, but the nature of it. For example, seeing, we learned it's a reality, not anyone at all. And whenever it arises, it sees. So it's the reality which experiences the object. It's not hard, it's not soft. It's just the reality which is there now. We don't talk about something not there, but we are talk about what is there each moment. The reality which arises to experience the object. Only that a reality conditioned to arise to experience the object by its proper condition. When a reality impinges on the eye, that is what we say. It conditioned the moment of seeing that which impinges on the eye. Only, see. We need to say only, because it's not the moment of thinking, liking, talking at all. That's why learning to understand each reality as it is, just arise and falls away. The reality which experiences an object, no matter seeing, hearing, thinking, or whatever, it arises to experience the object by its characteristic, its function, its own way. For example, attachment cannot be anything. And there is attachment in the day. So learning Dhamma, to understand Dhamma, is to understand what is there right now, here, so close. If there's no seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, can there be what we say, the world, the universes, and so on? None at all. So the reality which arises to experience the object is so very important. Can we say it's the master of the world? Because it's the experiences what the world is, be taken for the world. Only a moment of seeing, a moment of hearing, a moment of touching, a moment of thinking as well. That's why we can understand the nature of the reality which is there from birth to life, on and on, non-stop, from life to life. There must be what is there now, can be known, the reality which sees. If it does not arise, there can never be that which is seen as something at all. No understanding of the nature of that, the ultimate nature of that which is seen and that which feels. That's why we learn to understand the truth of each moment in life. This is studying Dhamma, not the word, but understanding what is there at moment of hearing, considering deeper and deeper to know that this is the only way to understand truth. And what is meant by the word Buddha, the highest, greatest understanding of the ultimate truth, not just any kind of panya, the worldly panya, understanding what is wholesome and what is not wholesome and so on. That is not enough, because it's not understanding Dhamma, the reality which is there from eons and eons and eons ago, non-stop, from moment to moment up to now and up to tomorrow, see, on and on and on. So now learning to have understanding of Dhamma as it is, the reality, why it's real, it's there now. And that which sees is not that which is seen. What about the understanding? Not enough. Just learn to understand the truth, that in truth, there is no one. There are only different realities conditioned to arise. So we just learn about seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, ignorance, and understanding. But there are more realities because they are in life. That's why we have to understand more about each moment to understand no matter what and when, no one there at all. Little by little, this is the firm confidence of the truth. And this is the only way, the path leading to understand anatta, non-self, no one, no thing at all. It's only a moment of that which is conditioned to arise and gone instantly. Is that true? Little by little, understanding, let go, understanding the letting go ignorance and wrong understanding, taking that for I of something, even not in word, who is sitting now. See, I unknown, and who sees I when there's no understanding. So the I is there unknowingly because it's so very subtle. It's not the moment of sleeping that we are here sitting, but no understanding of even what is there after seeing, ignorance of seeing, ignorance of that which is seen. That's why there are many different degrees of all kinds of Dhamma. Now there is ignorance of seeing, because there is seeing, after seeing, no understanding. So it's this very subtle ignorance and attachment to the being and the I am sitting, and moment of attachment to that which is seen, all time, each moment in a day, whisper, object, sound, and so on, all are the object of ignorance and wrong understanding, taking it for shoes and bed and curtain and so on. This is the way to have confidence of no one, all Adhamas, little by little. But it's not the degree of directly understanding only one reality at a time yet. That's why the arising and falling of this moment does not appear or disclose, because it's always hidden, because of the succession of the rapidity of the reality conditioned to arise and fall away instantly. Have more confidence of the truth and understanding it no other way at all. Only right understanding develop on and on and on of the characteristic of that which appears. But if there's no hearing about it, how can it be studied to be understood? It's just the reality which arises and experiences the object. And there are not just one reality which arises and experiences the object, all the different ones. That's why we learn more about the other reality, which is not that which arises to experience the object, clearly. But the other reality, like attachment, also arises with that moment of seeing, but not together, different by conditions again and again. That's why the Buddha, the enlightened one, who realized the truth, kindly talk about everything to be known, to be studied, to experience it, to realize it, stage by stage, little by little. As we are talking about it right now, the first round of Arya Satya, until everything is so firm, understood as it is. So there are more to learn, because not only there is not just only seeing, hearing, smell.
And Sylvia, to add a little more to your question, because it's actually quite a deep topic, what is thinking? So there are, at each moment in life, as we discussed on Saturday, citta arises. It's a moment of consciousness. It experiences its object and falls away. Different cittas have different functions. So seeing is one citta. It has the function of seeing what is visible. Hearing is another citta. It has the function of hearing sound. In an idle process, there isn't just the moment of seeing. There's a citta before it, several cittas afterwards. There are wholesome or unwholesome cittas that arise, performing their function of experiencing the same object. And after the idle process, there are cittas like the cittas in deep sleep, which perform their function of continuing life. And then there are mindful processes. In the mindful processes, there are wholesome and unwholesome cittas that perform their function of experiencing the object in a wholesome or unwholesome way. We can call them moments of thinking. It's quite different from our conventional idea, our usual way of thinking. These are just momentary cittas that arise, which experience an object, not necessarily thinking in words at all, thinking of what has just been seen, the visible object, or the sound, or the shape of the visible object, or the color, and then later thinking about someone there, the person, the thing, and so on. But they're just momentary cittas that arise and perform that function of thinking in a wholesome or an unwholesome way. And as we discussed on Saturday, which Ajahn just referred to as well, each citta has to be accompanied by at least 7 cetasikas. At a moment of seeing or hearing, 7 cetasikas accompany the seeing to make it possible to see the object. There must be the contact of the object. There must be the Vedana, the feeling. There must be the concentration, which is one-pointed, that experiences that one object. There has to be the attending to the object. When the kusala or akusala, the wholesome or unwholesome cittas arise later in the idle process or in the mindful process, more cetasikas are needed to assist the citta to experience the object. For example, at a moment of understanding, the wholesome citta has to be accompanied by many, many wholesome cetasikas. There has to be awareness, there has to be understanding, there has to be confidence, there has to be those cittas which see the harm in unwholesomeness. Many different cetasikas arise together to help it perform the function. So thinking just refers to the function of a citta, different from the function of seeing or hearing. And in the beginning, we put it quite simply. We say, if there's not seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, there is thinking. But actually, there are other cheetahs performing their function. But as John said, step by step. So we're referring to different cheetahs arising for a moment, performing their functions in a wholesome or unwholesome way, different from seeing and hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching, which are result cheetahs. They're a result of karma. But the wholesome or unwholesome cheetahs that follow are not the result of karma. They are the habits, the good and the bad habits that are accumulated. For example, the attachment or the wrong view, which Anne was mentioning. These are unwholesome cheetah seekers that arise with unwholesome cheetahs, akusala cheetahs, and they have been accumulated. Why is there ignorance now? Why is there attachment now? Even though we're having a Dhamma discussion, because that habit, that accumulation of attachment has been accumulating lifetime after lifetime. So as soon as an object is seen or heard, it arises and clings to the object. Anatta, not in anyone's control. Is that a little clearer, Sylvia?
Yes, very. Thank you. Very helpful.
Right.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that.
Any other questions about it or anything else?
While you were talking, I did think of something. So could thinking be a habit?
It is
or
a
is
habit.
the wrong view is a habit? Because once you've had the wrong view, it perpetuates, does it?
That's exactly right. The thinking with wrong view is the habit and it accumulates. So the thinking is accumulated, the thinking in that particular way, and the wrong view with the thinking accumulates. The attachment at that moment, the ignorance at that moment, all these different cheetah seekers with that thinking are habits and accumulate and condition each other. So all the cheetah seekers that arise together with a cheetah, they all condition each other. They arise together, experience the same object, condition each other, and accumulate together. So even at moments when there is kindness or understanding or seeing or hearing, there's no wrong view or attachment at those moments, but the tendency is still there. It's dormant at that moment, but it's still there, ready to condition the attachment or wrong view so quickly after the seeing has fallen away.
Yeah.
But just to add a word of caution that the fact that they accumulate is not something we have to be worried about, because there's unwholesome tendencies accumulating all the time. Most of our day, the jitters that think are not kusala, because no particular kind of kusala is being performed. So it's not something we need to be concerned about, because with the development of understanding is what will overcome these things in due course. Thanks, Sylvia.
So yes, so that's what I'm getting out of that, is that by studying the Dharma and by better understanding, the habit changes naturally. It naturally corrects itself.
Yes.
There's no I to stop thinking this way. It's the habit. By having this knowledge, it gradually falls away. The habit falls away.
It's just as the habit of clinging instantly to what is seen is there and ingrained. So the point of having these discussions, considering and reflecting, is that this is a condition for the habit of understanding to begin to develop
to begin to let go of some of that attachment, especially the attachment to the wrong ideas that has been accumulated for so long. Kindness now conditions more kindness. The habit becomes a little more familiar. So that's why each moment wholesome or unwholesome habits are being accumulated. And Gillian, I saw your comment. Would you like to read it out? Go ahead, Gilly. Sylvia, Gilly lives in Queensland. She lives in Australia as well. Go ahead, Gilly.
As I was listening and I was saying, yeah, that's a rupa. Well, the sound is rupa. And I'm experiencing it. And I'm thinking about what people are saying. I'm listening and thinking about what they mean. And then I thought, yes, words are magic, because through words we are able to talk and communicate, and we can get a little hint of what's true, what's the truth. And yeah, so I'm just listening, and as I'm listening, I'm noticing, if I can, which bits am I attached to, and which words am I having aversion to. So, like, for example, I don't like the word ignorance, but yes, I'll think about that. I just have a negative experience of ignorance, which I'm thinking about. So it's all just the realities that arise and what each word means. And I think my understanding of meaning depends, well, how I interpret words depends on the degree of understanding that I have. So yeah, I was kind of thinking out loud, and I hope that's useful.
Thanks, Gilly.
And yes,
It's good to hear from you.
I don't really, sometime I'd like to know more about Chetasikas. You said at least 7 to every chitta, but yes, I'm sure I'll learn more about those, but thank you.
And the point of beginning to consider a little more about chittas and chetasikas is to understand, like you mentioned, the sound as a rupa that is experienced. But when we learn more about chittas and chetasikas, it becomes a little more evident that it's not I that can experience a rupa. It's the seeing, a chitta, which experiences visible object, hearing, which experiences sound. And when we learn about the reality of thinking another chitta, then we begin to appreciate it's not I that can notice the chitta experiences, the thinking experiences, its object. One of the chetasikas is attention. At each moment, there is attention which attends to the object, manasikara in Pali. And so no I to notice, because it's manasikara which attends to the object. It's thinking which thinks about it. Attachment, lobha, which arises with some of the unwholesome chittas, is attached to the object. So the point of becoming a little more familiar, having the habit a little more, getting used to chittas, chetasikas, and rupas, is to so that the understanding can little by little let go of the idea of I experiencing or observing or noticing or being attached. Because as Anne was saying, usually all day it's I there. We think I am seeing now, I'm hearing, I'm thinking. But there are just different dhammas. Each moment in life is dhamma. No one here, no one there at all. But the habits, the habits of taking all the experiences, or my experience or the other's experience, is so deeply ingrained. There has to be a lot of listening, considering, reflecting.
And I'd like to add one brief comment, Gillian, on what you've said, and that is that, as I think we've probably mentioned a number of times before, one of the factors for the arising of awareness and understanding is reflecting on the Dhamma that has been heard. And I suppose this is a word of caution, but that reflecting on the Dhamma that has been heard is not the same as having the idea that we need to analyze what's going on at the moment in terms of what we've heard about. So the idea is that focusing on what is happening at the present moment is not necessarily a condition for the arising of awareness and understanding. This may sound strange, but it's more the reflection on the description of the world as we know it, the description of the world as given by the Buddha. That is the condition for awareness and understanding, than trying to focus on and to analyze the present moment in terms of namas and rupas, or what kind of citta, whether it's kusala or akusala, and so on. Okay, thanks.
Tiffany, is it fairly clear what we're discussing about? Are you able to follow along?
Yes, thank you. I have a little question though, if I may.
Please go ahead.
We talked earlier about developing understanding is of the conditioned Dharma is a path. And I thought that you develop understanding by studying, by listening to Dharma, by Jonathan just said about reflecting. That's a new one. And then I thought, what about the samatha kamatan? When did the Buddha teach that, or is it like for the people wanting to develop jhana, or does it help with your awareness, your sati, or is it just through understanding only that your sati or your awareness is developed? So is that the wrong path, or can it help? That's my question.
As we don't have much time, I'm going to pass it to Ajahn, but I just make one comment. Whatever kind of development we're talking about, whether it is samatha, the development of calm, or vipassana, the development of understanding, which is the path, it needs understanding from the beginning. Without understanding, there cannot be any development of calm or any kind of wholesomeness. But as I said, we haven't got much time, so I'll let Ajahn reply to you, and also if you would like to Gillian or anyone else. Ajahn.
Yes. Shall we talk a little more about ignorance? Because it seems that it's just a word, but no one knows when does it arise or not. Just talk about it. It's not beginning to consider and beginning to understand that it's there. Right? When there's no understanding, is it real moment of no understanding of seeing right now? Or it is the understanding of seeing. And it cannot be the understanding of seeing yet, as long as not enough firm confidence of the truth that it's real and it experiences the object. And it arises and falls away, never to rise again. Is this the beginning to be calm or to understand the truth? Samatha Bhavana or Vipassana Bhavana or Satipatthana. It's not just the word, but it depends on understanding of the truth from the very beginning. Anyone who does not understand the truth right now, is it calm? Is it not ignorance? Ignorance is there almost all the time. That's why akusala is more and more in a day, all the time, because of ignorance. But no idea about ignorance is there. And when there's no ignorance, there will not be akusala. But we try to be kusala, to have more kusala by way of samatha bhavana or vipassana bhavana, but no understanding of the truth at all. So it's impossible because all depends on right understanding, not ignorance. So when there's no understanding of seeing right now, akusala attachment right now, just want to not having it at all at moment of such and such, like samatha, but no understanding what is samatha. So at moment of wanting, trying to have it, it cannot be samatha. But at moment of understanding, it's calm because it begins to understand the truth, to understand it in a day. The base reality, which condition each moment, is avijja, no understanding of the truth. That's why any moment of no understanding is calm. It is avijja there. Ignorance is there. So understand ignorance, that it is almost all there. Begin to understand the opposite. So at moment of hearing about Dhamma, the reality which is there is conditioned to arise. At that moment, its understanding of that which is there has arisen by conditions. It's not no understanding as before. That's why it has to be understanding only to condition higher level of kusala. So before doing something and thinking about samatha or vipassana, it has to be understanding of what samatha is and what vipassana is. Otherwise, no understanding, just take the word and do something. It's not the high level of understanding, which is calm, of higher degree, and vipassana, understanding the truth deeper and deeper, deeper to realize the truth. Is that right? So now begin to know ignorance. It's there right now, right? Chitta is kusala or akusala right now. Without ignorance, can it be akusala? Attachment and aversion and other unwholesome natures, factors, realities, cetasika. See? That's why it's not just talk about samatha without any understanding of this moment. Is that right? Begin to consider carefully what does it mean, samatha, calmness, kusala or akusala. It's not moment of being attached to what is taken for calmness when it's not calm. No understanding, ignorance. Can it be calm? It does not understand anything. So it can be avijja arises with citta alone, or ignorance avijja arises with attachment, or avijja arises with aversion. See, at moment of wanting to have calm, ignorance is there. Because of no understanding of calmness, it's a reality which experience the object and its characteristic of experiences with calmness, so calm. Because at that moment, no akusala, no ignorance, no attachment. That's why this is the teachings of the Buddha, to understand no matter what. Not just samatha, try to have samatha calmness. It's impossible. No understanding at all. It cannot be calm. And even when there is understanding, it depends on other realities arising together by conditions to be calm more and more and more at moment of kusala, different from kusala, to give or to abstain from killing, so on. See? So understand what's the word of the Buddha and what is not the word of the Buddha. And understanding, when there's no understanding, no asura, avijja, ignorance is there for sure, not understanding anything. So attachment is there, aversion is there. Calmness is not attachment, it's not aversion. It's one cetasika which arises with each sobhana, wholesome citta. That's why before citta can be calm, it takes many cetasikas arising, supporting each other to be calm at every moment by different degrees, arising with panya. So understand what is meant by calm, or samatha bhavana, the development of calmness, or vipassana, what is it? And what is meant by vipassana bhavana. Bhavana is developing little by little to have great understanding of whatever is there. Or great, because it's not like usual kusala, like giving. It's come from a kusala. Otherwise, it cannot give. Still cling to that. How can it give? What Lord we learn, it's all about right understanding, to understand the truth stage by stage, not by one's own thinking about it. Sitting alone, never, without any understanding, avijja takes it for calm, but in truth it's not, because ignorance is there. Just learn to understand what is that right now, little by little, even calm. Any moment of kusala, it's away from akusala, calm from having no akusala. So is it calm now? See, we are talking about the truth of each moment, little by little. If we don't talk about calm, how can there be the understanding whether it's calm now? Is there any attachment or it's understanding? See, begin to see the difference between moment of calmness and moment without calmness. Little by little, different degrees by what arises together. Is this understanding? See, it means no one but understanding understands the truth, what is calm and what is not calm. Just whether it's true or not, and have confidence of the truth. That is so true right now, it's there to be known, and it can be realized. Not just the word about it, but it can be understood little by little, developing right understanding on and on and on. Otherwise, what's the way to have more understanding? without careful considering, there can never be understanding. Just the word. So is there ignorance now? See? To be truthful to the truth. Learn to understand what is there right now. Because what is there right now so close hasn't been known before as not my body or not I at all. So we have